Well, let's speak to Lord Pickles now, a man who I always seem to speak to after Conservative Party defeats and normally has some pretty good advice. What do you think, first of all, of Marcus Fish trying to wrap up the Conservative Party and start with something fresh on the right?
Well, I'm obviously sorry he lost his seat, and my experience, when you face defeat, that perhaps your thoughts aren't as coherent as you might wish to do if you'd taken a little bit of time. It sounded a little bit muddled to me, but I hope we could see him back in Westminster sometime.
And what would your advice be to the party at this stage?
My advice would be, don't think this is rock bottom. Understand it could get worse. Understand we could face oblivion at the next election. And it's immensely important that the party, the parliamentary party and the voluntary party, take their time and some deliberation in picking the next leader of the Conservative Party. And the most important thing after that is to put together coherent opposition to the Labour Party. It's called the loyal opposition for a reason. Our system demands that the government should always be on trial, always being texted, and we should do that. But we really need to get back to some basic conservative principles of freedom of the individual, enterprise, belief in the law, and above all, public service. And I think it's that latter part that the Conservative Party has slipped on in the past few years.
I mean, you say it could get worse. Do you actually think we could see the disappearance of the Conservative Party, not deliberately as Marcus Fish wants, but what would replace it, for example?
Well, there'll always be a place in British politics for a party of the right. That doesn't necessarily need to be the Conservative Party, but the party has always succeeded when it's been able to bring together people across the political spectrum. From the centre right all the way across, going deep into Lib Dem territory, and I suppose going partly into reform territory.
I mean, there are those people who are saying, look, it's easy. We can unite the right basically by embracing reform and its policies. What would you say to them?
I think I would rather miss the point. It is people blaming the state of the low level of Conservative seats on reform. I think are really missing the point. It's not them, it's us. Basically, the majority of the people that voted went out with one intention. That was to get rid of the Conservative government and respect, I beg your pardon, reform was a way in which to do that. Also voting Labour and voting Liberal Democrat, voting Green, voting for the independents. But that was their motivation. And we basically lost the trust of the British people because we didn't look terribly competent.
I mean, the point is that the policies that those people who advocate getting closer to reform want is, first of all, they'd like to see Nigel Farage and the party. Secondly, they'd like to take a stronger line on immigration, including leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, and they want sort of populist tax cuts, if you like. Do you think any of those ideas contain the seeds of recovery?
No, because they miss the point. It's rather infantile to think that by a wooden leap we can cure everything. We have got years of hard slog ahead of us. We have got the time to watch many of the things that we put together, many things that were good, being dismantled by the Labour Party, and we're there because we decided that we were the natural party of government, and no matter what ridiculous things we did, no matter how many times we changed prime ministers and various ministers, that we were always going to be there. And we need to re-engage. We need to show a bit of humility. And there's no magic bullet that's just going to cure all our ills. It's much more serious than that. And I've been there before as part of that hard slog, coming back after Mr. Blair's victories to see David Cameron walk through the door of Number 10. So, we've got to be in there for the long haul.
Where do you stand on this class issue that has been raised by Keir Starmer? I mean, you're not an old Etonian. Did you feel a bit out of place with the recent leadership of the Tory party?
I feel completely home. I once, when I was part of chair, made a joke that we should never look down our nose at somebody who had the misfortune to go to Eton to be educated. But I think if you don't want to be mean personal, you sat there looking very much like a toff yourself with your collar askew, like every toff I've ever met. That's their standard dress. So you'd know more about this than me.
No, I mean, on a serious point, do you actually think that one of the good things about this new government is that, in Keir Starmer's word, it reflects what the country's like, and perhaps the Tory party looked a bit out of touch?
I don't think it's where someone comes from. It's what they do. I mean, I always thought about David that he did have the ability to walk into someone else's shoes and did have a degree of empathy. No, I think it's what you are, not where you came from. Otherwise, I would have never have got to sort of the top of the Tory party.
Just getting a couple of people in talking about you, saying that when you led Derbyshire Council, schools were chronically underfunded. Is that one of the things that the Conservatives got wrong, that they put a squeeze on local government and indeed on public service infrastructure?
Derbyshire is a wonderful place, but I've never led Derbyshire Council. It was Bradford.
Yeah.
I think we came in a time when money was extraordinarily short. We were in a difficult position, and the Conservative Party should believe in sound money and living within our means. I think part of the problem with British politics now, and this applies to Labour, Conservatives, particularly Liberal Democrats, is that we're not operating under a particular philosophy. It's not Thatcherism or Marxism. It's Freddie Mercuryism. We want it all, and we want it now. We want the good services. We want to see schools receive massive funding, but we're not prepared to pay for it.
Finally, do you have a name of someone you'd like to see leading the Conservative Party next?
No, but I do have a name of a process, which is time. I think there are some good people wanting to stand, but they need to prove themselves through the process of the selection process, and that shouldn't happen quickly. And when the 22 meet, they should resist the temptation to ensure that it's a quick decision, and they should ensure that that it is left to the membership, and they're offered a very wide choice. Too many times we've tried to carve up and to put a good candidate and a poor candidate in order for our favoured candidate to get through. And I think that's proved beyond peradventure that does not work.
Eric Pickles, thank you very much for your time.